Hi, Caleb from Brownells here, and today I'm joined by Jenn. Jenn, we're gonna be building a gun today.
Cool.
Yes, so we're doing this. We're doing a customer build, and spoiler alert, you're the customer. I don't know if you knew that or not, but here we go. So these are all the parts. But before I go into the parts and start telling people what's what, tell us why you're building this gun. Like, what's the inspiration?
Well, I am an RSO out at the range, and I'd worked a few events last year and the year before, and I really wanted to start getting into some two-gun competitions.
Okay.
So I needed a rifle.
All right. So what competition specifically? Do you have anything coming up that you're doing?
Gunfighter Gauntlet
Oh, that's a good one.
is one, and then I believe we are putting on one Action Hero Experience in this summer. I'm not sure what month it is.
Sometime this summer.
Yeah, might be August.
Yeah.
Early August.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, awesome. So with that being said, we have the perfect AR type rifle for said thing. And what it's all going to be based on, we're basing this off of the Radian receiver set with the handguard. So you got the Radian builder kit here, which full ambidextrous, and a lot of the stuff is already installed to make this go a lot easier, which is great. That's just less I have to, I guess I don't want to say supervise on, because I'm not even going to really be part of this build. I'm just going to stand over here and hand you tools.
Oh no.
Because you've done this before, right?
First time.
First time, perfect. That's what I thought. Okay, I didn't want you to be like, yeah, I've done this before.
Oh no, no. First time.
You can take a hike, so I didn't. Now I have a purpose for being here. All right. So we have comes with the Radian charging handles, which are great by themselves, but even better when you put them with the receiver set. And I'm just gonna. It comes with this stuff installed, and we gotta take it off before we can start building anyway. All right, so I think where we're gonna start here is with the lower receiver. That's usually where I like to start. So what we're gonna need to do is to clamp that in a vise. And let me move my cappuccino there. I was getting my cappuccino on earlier. And the vise block we'll use, the Midwest Industries one. So what we're gonna do is basically just open up our vise here. And I'm even gonna pull these jaw pads out, and we'll just shut it in there. Nice and tight. There you go. All right. And then this basically just kind of replicates our magazine so that it'll drop right on and holds it in place while we work on it. All right. So the next place I would usually start would be the magazine catch. But that's already installed. From there, I'd move on to the bolt catch. Spoiler alert, it's already in there, because like they were roommates. And then the takedown lever. Again, we're just like, this is the fast forward button because that's already installed. All right, so let's just go on to the trigger mechanism and drop that in. And for the trigger, we're using a Geisley here. And so you've never done this before. Have you ever installed any parts before?
No.
Okay, that's okay. That's a thank you for your honesty.
Well, I mean, I've taken apart my shotgun and cleaned it, but never had to take the trigger assembly out.
So this is the same exact thing except completely different. So you'll feel
right at home.
Feel right at home in a stranger's house. Okay, I'm just gonna put this little pin in here to hold the disconnector in. And this is going to be what is called a slave pin because it's just holding that in place. And whenever we put it into the receiver and push this pin in, it's going to push this pin out. All right, so just take this trigger and just kind of drop it in there as triggers do.
I'm assuming.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, and it's just going to kind of sit in there because the spring.
Okay.
And then you're going to take your finger, put it on top, compress that spring. You're going to line up that hole and then just push your retaining pin through. So if you notice, one side of this pin is completely smooth. I'd recommend starting with that side just because it goes through easier when you don't have to defeat the ridges in it. There you are. And I know you can't see the pin going in right now. That's fine. If you need detailed instruction on this, we have those videos. Go check them out. Because this is...
Should it be that hard?
Yeah, you're doing great. If you want something... you can use this to just kind of push so that it's a little easier on your hand there. And you can kind of wiggle as you push in.
Oh, yeah.
To kind of help things stay aligned as you go. There you go.
Oh, yeah, it was easy peasy there.
Okay. Yeah, and then same thing, just as you push, just kind of wiggle that trigger a bit.
So does it go all the way in?
It'll go all the way in. All right, and then just push it flush now. And you can use that block again if you need to. Yeah, there you go. And then just a quick little function check would be make sure it's springing back and forth.
Okay.
All right, so the hammer's a little bit trickier because, let me get the pin out here. There's a retainer in the middle, so it's going to cause some friction there. Again, you want to go in with the smooth side of the pin first. The legs are going to face this direction here, right? So a lot of times you'll see people try and put them in like this. That's wrong. It just simply has to go in like that. So these legs, let me get a pointing tool for pointing. All right. So these legs right here are going to rest on top of these pins that you put in. So they're going to go just like that. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Because these legs are actually what retains that pin, because remember those grooves were cut in the pin? The legs on this sit into those grooves and keep it from falling out. So the easiest way to do this, I have found, is to take your thumb on the back right here, put those legs in, and then use your thumb as leverage to push down, and then line up your hole that way.
Okay.
Now for this Radian receiver, we're not going to use the Geisley pin. We're going to use the Radian pin, and then you notice the head of it is like ovaled. It's going to fit in that groove right there.
Okay.
So you're just going to push down and push in. And this one's, you got to push down kind of hard and align it at the same time, so it can be a little tricky.
I can't see in there. Oops.
Get a little, you need some light. I got my super duper fancy go-go gadget light watch on.
Well, I see the hole.
Yep, there you go.
Is that hard where I have to use something else too, or should it?
Same situation, but you may just have to kind of manipulate it a bit. Yeah, because it's in. Okay, so let me give you something to push that with. And because it's a tight space, a nylon tipped punch works best. And on the hammer, because those spring legs are pushing it upward, instead of moving back and forth, going side to side tends to be the best. All right, so we just need to rotate that pin a little bit so that it lines up, and I'll real quick just kind of show the camera what we're looking at here. This is the pin we're putting in. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some parallel pliers and very gently rotate it the right direction here. Actually, I'll use that nylon punch. All right, and then just send it home. And what you may have to do, because you're coming through the other side of the receiver, those legs are pushing up, so if you just push this way, All right, try it now. There we go. All right, perfect. So that's locked into place. We'll leave that where it is. And then now we will put on our selector lever. And the Radiant build kit comes with the Talon. That's not the right part. That's the right part. Okay. All right. And it comes set up for 2 different throws. So you have your traditional 90-degree throw, right? Where you have to rotate it a full 90 degrees. Or you can set it up as a short throw so it doesn't have to rotate as far. If it's just being used for competition, then the short throw may actually be better. So that's what I would recommend, but this isn't, it's not my gun.
Yes, but you're the man, so.
I mean, don't, people are gonna be like, oh, Caleb's not the man, you're a liar, so. With that being said, it's just, so here's the deal, right? Her husband's sitting right there, okay? And she's calling me the man. He's looking at me like he's trying to kill me. I'm just kidding. None of that's actually happening, other than the fact that he is there. So. Fun fact also, if you made it this far in the video, her husband is actually the Brownells range master. So if I ever want to shoot out there again, I got to make sure this goes well. So that's just where we're at.
We're doing good so far.
Yeah, so far so good.
So far so good.
All right. Anywho, where was I? What were we talking about? Selector levers. Yes. All right, so you have 2 levers here. You primarily left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. That's the opposite of me, so let me think of how I would set this up and then do the opposite. So, being a right-handed shooter, you're going to want the long lever on the left-hand side and the short lever on the right-hand side. So with the long lever over here, you'll be able to get to it easily and rotate it. And when it does rotate, the short lever will not interfere with the web of your hand.
Okay.
So that's how we'll set it up. All right, then we'll just pour this out right here. Okay, so there's a lot of pieces right here, right? Springs, detents, other things, and I have no idea what any of it is for. I'm kidding, I got you. All right, so what I actually like to do with this part, so we know we're using the short throw. So what I will do is take a little bit of grease and put it into where that detent's gonna go, because that's just gonna make everything smoother on the finished product. And by a little bit, I mean comparatively a massive amount of grease. Okay, so what we're gonna do is you're gonna take this piece here, you're gonna push it in from either side because there's no levers on it. You just wanna make sure that this greased up portion is facing down. Okay. You see there's a hole cut right there, right? That hole inside, the hole inside of the hole, like Inception, right? What's the guy, Leonardo, right? Goes straight down through there, and then you have your spring, and then you have your detent. Same guy that made Interstellar. Interstellar's a great movie, one of my favorite. But we're not here to talk about movies and whatnot. Oh, I'm putting this in here just on a habit here. So you got to cock your hammer, and then you put that in, because I am here to help, not build the gun. Got to remind myself. You're doing great. Yep. So on a scale of 1 to tricky, they can be a little tricky sometimes.
Yeah. But you also said I could go this way.
I did, and you may. All right.
What's that?
Perfect. Okay, so now there's those dovetails on either side, and our levers are going to slide onto those. So the way it sits now, this would be what's considered the fire position. And we said the short lever was going on this side.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, take these little springs and detents here. I'm just going to kind of set it up for you real quick. All right. And then I'm going to drop it, but I keep a magnet right here and it caught it. It's magic.
Sweet.
Okay, so this just literally goes into that hole.
Okay.
All right, so the tricky part of this, and it's not super tricky, but you just have to depress this and then slide this on. So if you start right here, and we'll show y'all in just a second here, but you can use this nylon tipped punch again. And if you shoot it across the room, that's okay, I'll go get it. So don't worry about it. That's what I'm here for. But I will give that to you. I will put my finger on this side and we'll push that in. All right, so we captured the shelf and then there it goes. Okay, cool. All right, let's do the same exact thing over here. So there's two sides to that.
Does it matter which one? Yep.
Yeah, it does. One of them, so this side is the one the spring goes on. So the longer, skinnier side is the one that actually locks the lever in place.
Does it just sits on there like that?
Yep, and spring goes in first.
Okay. There we are, right there.
Yep. And then the lever.
And the same thing.
Same thing. And then just kind of wiggle it back and forth as you push up on it. There you go. And there it is. All right, so now it's in the fire position. That would be the safe position. Once we get our spring and detent in there, then we'll be cooking. Okay, so what we're gonna need is our grip. Comes with a screw, which is great. Screws are great for holding things in, as I'm sure you already know that part of things. And I'm gonna put this up for now. Take some, this is the same exact stuff, just in a tub. And no, this is not what I use in my hair. Okay, I gotta say it. I gotta, who knows. So now, this is just kind of flopping around. If you've ever used an AR15, you probably noticed that they don't do that.
Right.
So we need to not make it do that. And what's gonna do that is actually this detent here is gonna go in that hole on the bottom. Remember like Inception with the whole movie thing I'm not gonna get into again? This is gonna go in that hole right there.
Okay.
And then pushing up on it is gonna be this spring. And as your grip goes on like so, this spring will be in this hole pushing on that detent. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Perfect. So, what I like to do is you're going to take this with the pointy end going inward, dip this in some grease, and stick it in there.
So enough grease to cover.
Yeah, just the tip of it, because we already greased the heck out of that.
Okay.
The main reason we're really putting grease on here is to kind of keep it in place while we're putting things together so it doesn't fall out. And it makes the end product smoother too, of course.
Right in there.
And chicow. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with the spring, because if we just put the spring in here and turn it, it's going to want to fall out. But if you dip that end in grease and then put it in there, that grease will act as a temporary adhesive, if you will. And then now you can take this and put it on there. All right, and then our grip screw, which if you hold that in place, I'll just kind of get it started for you here. And you should be able to let go of that now and finish screwing your grip in.
I can see this is set up for a left-handed person.
What's the, oh, the the vise? So it allegedly it's beneficial for a left-handed person because it works well for me. The way we used to have it set up, I've heard stories was
as
even
tight as I can go.
was even
Sorry.
worse. Yeah, just nice and nice and snug. I'll give it a feel here and kind of see where we're at. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And then this piece just kind of goes onto the bottom there. And you can keep things in there like Skittles, M&Ms, Jolly Ranchers. I don't know, whatever your favorite candy is. Yeah. Maybe like lipstick? I don't know.
Lipstick, yeah, lip gloss.
Do girls put lip gloss in there, guys?
Some chapstick, maybe.
Chapstick? Oh,
Yeah.
I should probably do chapstick. You know how like on those sunny days at the range, like your lips are getting sunburned? And
sunburnt and dry and...
I'm putting, and chapstick's the perfect size because like the grip plugs that hold batteries.
Yeah.
Chapstick's like the same size. I'm just.
Hey. Got lots of ideas in there.
All the things I've been missing out on all these years is now coming to mind. Okay, so we're just gonna take this here. We'll put chapstick in it last, I guess. All right, so now we're just gonna kind of test things out, but also I'm gonna put some of this grease on your trigger. And I'm just gonna hit this area right here. Like so. And this is a great tool because I can get down into the actual sear all the way in. Okay, and again, Brownells Action Lube Plus, because I was gonna like think of a fancy catchphrase, but just because works, I think. And I'm just kind of working that grease in. Okay, so now we can check to make sure our safety and stuff actually works, right? So we'll cock it, put it on safe. And if you notice that, you can see that short throw there, which is super nice. So I'll put it on safe. I'll put my thumb over the front here, and I'll do it that way so the camera can see. And pull the trigger. Nothing should happen, right? Put it on fire, and it should let go. And that's how, every time I install a trigger, that's the exact thing I do right there. Even if I take my trigger out for any reason and put it back in, I do the same check. Okay, so now at this point, I would usually go ahead and start putting in the rear takedown pin and getting it ready for when I install the receiver extension. But again, it's already in there. So easy. But we still have other parts we need to put in. All right, so we'll take our receiver extension, and this is one of my favorites. So this is the BCM Bravo Company Mark II recoil mitigation system. And it's basically, for all intents and purposes, it's an A5 length type buffer setup, which is the in-between between carbine and rifle length. And it just makes the gun run smoother, honestly. So that's what I like to use. So that's what we're gonna use here, because that's now also what you like to use. You just don't know it yet. But once you shoot it, you're gonna be like, that's the bomb.
I heard smooth and I was all in.
All right, and the only part that this actually did not come with was the buffer, retainer, and spring. So these little guys right here. So again, if you look through this hole here, you will see another hole.
Yep.
Inception again. Holeception? I don't know. Anyway, these are gonna go into there. So the spring first and the retainer on top. And I will set those there. And then you may put them in the receiver.
Just that's in there?
It just, yep, just like that.
This way?
This
way.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then that's just kind of chill there for a moment. And then we have our castle nut and our end plate already installed on here. Now you're gonna take this and you're gonna screw it in right to these threads back here. So these threads to these threads, 1 3/16 by 16 thread pitch. Nobody needs to know that, but it's useless information in my mind. I regurgitate every now and then. So as you're screwing this in, the lip on the bottom here is going to, because you're going to push this down, so that lip is just going to sit on the ledge here.
Okay.
So that it keeps it there, but it also can still move down.
Okay.
Right? So just take this and screw it in. those are pretty tight thread tolerances, so you'll have to, has to be perfectly aligned when you go in. There it goes. It looks like it, maybe. Yeah, okay.
Right, this
and
one?
You can actually...
Just use my finger?
Yeah, just use your finger. All right. And, yep, so just like that. Ooh, that's pretty. Let me see if we can go one more rotation. Yeah, so we'll go that one more rotation, because if you look, it's just barely holding it on there.
Okay.
And we want a little more contact, so if you can go one more rotation and it still moves freely, which if you push it up and down, it does, that's what you want.
Okay.
Okay, so now at this point, we need to take our end plate, and if you notice, it has this cutout right there. That's going to go into the cutout on the back of the receiver.
Okay.
So you're just going to push that forward, and then tighten down your castle nut. Great. And then, using the Midwest Industries armor wrench, one of my favorite armor wrenches, you can just use these teeth right here. This will lock onto the castle nut and just tighten it up. You're gonna have to come in from behind it. Yeah, there you go. And you'll feel it lock into the teeth once you're there.
Okay. They'll go in here?
Yep. There it is. And yeah, nice and snug. All right, let me take a feel here and see where you're at. Yeah, that's good. And then we're also gonna stake it, which we'll go ahead and do right now because we're done with the lower. I'll actually, no, I'm gonna put that up.
So what does stake it mean?
So stake it means, well, how do you usually cook your steak? What's your preferred temperature?
Rare.
Okay, that's an excellent choice. However, whenever we're staking castle nuts, we want to go well done.
Okay.
But listen, I'm a rare to medium rare guy myself, but I asked you that, although it has absolutely nothing to do with this. I just wanted to know. I was curious. I was going to judge you based on your answer, and you chose well. So,
Good.
that's right. Yeah. People that eat well done steaks are psychopaths, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. It's like eating what? Rubber? Something a little rough.
You know,
No taste.
I feel like because of this right here, what just happened, we're just bonding. This is all. That's all that is.
Bonding over steak.
Bonding over steak. Not just steak, but steak.
Steak.
Double steak. Okay. So if you notice in the castle nut, there are these little slots cut on the opposite end.
Yep.
So what we're going to want to do, I'll get it started and I'll let you finish it up here. But we're going to take this punch here. This is the Sons of Liberty. This one's a 40 degree. But we're going to hit, I'll show it. I'll do it on this side so you can see because they already know. If they don't already know, I'll show them too. We have a great video called, Staking Castle Nuts. Go search for it and watch it. It's awesome. Okay. We're going to, remember this is the end plate, right? This piece. So we're going to spread the metal from that end plate into that notch there. And then that's going to prevent this from coming loose.
Okay.
All right. You ready? I'm going to get it started.
Okay.
Because the getting it started is the hardest part. That's where you can slip and scratch and
Oh, we don't want to scratch this.
whatnot. Oh, it's going to get scratched. Remember what you're using it for.
I know.
I mean, we don't want it leaving the showroom floor scratched, though. I'm going to go about... Man, I feel like I'm getting on. I need glasses. That looks pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty good spot. All right, so... And actually, what we can use for this just to kind of help things be stabilized a little more. Oh no, we can't use that because the grip's already on. So we have this tool, and it will basically hold that in place, but it locks on where your grip goes, so we'd have to take the grip off to use it. So if I were smarter and thought ahead, we could have used that, but that's okay. We'll just stick with this tool here. This one will do just fine. We're going to be hammering on it here, but it's not nearly enough force to do any kind of damage or anything, so. The trick to not letting the tool slide is to hold the punch on there when you make your initial taps, right? And then once you get a divot punched into it, then you take the tool, put it in, and really push in on the tool as you hammer. And you can see very lightly, but the metal, so you don't have to hammer at an angle into the slot. You can really just go straight in because that metal is going to take the path of least resistance, and that is into the slot. And I'm going to do one of these here because whenever I do this, I usually put my body weight kind of up against the buffer tube, just to kind of help brace it here. And then I'll do some hitting there. And you can see the metal is now clearly into there. But we're not done yet. We're going to go even further. Right now, that's probably a medium wellish. Like I said, we want well done. Rare is right. That's rare right there because there's no stake at all, right?
Right.
Which, in this case, I say there's no stake at all, but in like real life, that is the stake. But anyway, we're talking about food again. Now that it's good and started, I'm going to get you to finish it up. So you're just going to take the punch, put it into the hole there, push in, and hit it with the hammer. Yeah, that looks pretty good. There it is.
Awesome.
All right.
You have to do that to both sides?
Nope, we only need to do one.
Okay.
There are people out there who do like everywhere they can. I'm not one of those people. Because one is plenty. This is never going to vibrate loose under any kind of use.
Okay.
With just one. So, okay. Now for the stock. So this right here, Magpul SLS stock, one of my favorite stocks. And so if you notice your adjustment lever, right? And in order to get it on, because just pushing the adjustment lever doesn't bring it down far enough to go on. So what you're going to do is you're going to get behind it, slide it on. Actually, let's turn it this way, and then I'll come over here. All right, so you're going to set it on, which I'll go ahead and do for you. Now take this adjustment lever, and you notice this piece of metal down here?
Yep.
You're just going to take these parallel pliers, grip them really good, pull straight down, and then slide on.
Okay.
And these parallel pliers are the smooth jaw ones, so they do a really good job at not absolutely wrecking what you're grabbing.
And then just let go?
Yep, you can let go. And then push on. Yep, and then you should be able to hit your lever and slide in and out. Yep, great.
Nice.
Okay, so now the buffer and the spring. But what I like to do is take some of this Mag Slick. Again, this is not what I use in my hair. And shake it up. And then I was reminded to point it away from my friends. And then spray it. And this is a dry film lubricant. So it's just gonna, you can see it's already starting to dry. I like to put that on the buffer and spring because it doesn't, all that, like, you know how dusty and dirty it can get at the range. That all doesn't want to get all up in there, and with wet lubricants it tends to stick to that. And then just take it and just push it all the way in. Just take your thumb, push it all the way past that detent. Yep, there it is.
Nice.
Okay, cool. That is the lower receiver. I want to say it's halfway done, but it's probably more than halfway done because we have less parts to install on the upper. All right. Cool. Man, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'm excited. So many emotions. And I don't know what to do with them all. All right. So the next part is the upper receiver. So we're going to get rid of our lower receiver vice block, and we're going to trade that for a upper receiver device here. So this one again is Midwest Industries. This is their URR, so upper receiver rod. And we're just going to grab this in the vise. And just like so. Nice and tight though. Gonna lock all this down. Alright, so now we'll just take our upper receiver and just slide it on.
All the way?
That's good right there.
Okay.
So if you notice, the front here has that star pattern on it, and that's going to index into our locking lugs on our barrel when we slide that in. So we can actually come forward a little bit, and then once we get our barrel seated and everything, we'll push it all together. Okay, so now, speaking of barrel and such, we have these threads right here. We have our barrel extension indexing pin, which is going to go into that top notch right there to keep it aligned. And then we have our barrel nuts, and this is going to slide over the barrel onto the threads, tighten down to lock the barrel into the upper.
Okay.
It can only go on one way, so there's no, it is what it is. It's easy. And we have this little pin here. I do know what that's for. I remember now. Okay. Before we started, I was like, I don't know what that's for. But it came back to me, so that's all that matters. Putting a barrel in, yes. So we're gonna come back to the Action Lube Plus. Again, not hair product. I'm gonna grab a rag here, because what we can do, just take your finger, dip it in there, put a little bit on the threads, then we're gonna put some more on the barrel extension.
Okay.
And then we're gonna push it into the upper receiver.
All right.
Yep, some of that. And yeah, just kind of get it on a few sides of those threads there. Yep, that's good.
And then on here.
Yep, on the extension.
Do you need very much, or?
What you got there should be good, just smear it all around.
Okay.
And then also I kind of wipe a little bit on that front shoulder, just like that.
On the front?
Yep. And a few different spots. That's plenty. I'll give you that.
Sorry.
Yep, there you go. All right, so what we'll need to do at this point, all right, so because, let's see, that's still moving. Okay, good. So what's gonna happen is these lugs on here are gonna go into the lugs on that upper receiver rod, and then all this stuff is gonna push together. So if you kind of pull the receiver towards the barrel as you push it together,
This be stronger than that, right?
just a little bit. Let's see where you're at here. All right, yeah, so you got a ways, you can go back further. is just kind of, since we're so close, do one of those. That last little bit is pretty darn tight. Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to get that. Okay, so now you see that it's flush. We're just going to push it on. Yep, okay, so everything is proper and aligned. And we already have plenty of grease there. If I didn't, I would usually just take a little bit and put it on these, but you don't need to do that. Screw this on by hand as far as it'll go. Perfect. Okay. So, at this point, what we need to do is torque this barrel nut down. So, with that being said here, let me grab the tool that was directly in front of me. So if you notice there's one notch on it here, that's just going to go in any one of these holes. I like to use the ones closer to the receiver though, like that one right there. I'm going to put a torque wrench on here and set it, and then I will let you tighten it down. So, I'll grab a torque wrench, and I don't remember Radian's exact spec, but if we go at 65 foot-pounds, that will be plenty. That's 60 plus 5 is 65. Math. Right. All right, and yeah, so here, what we want to do is maintain the wrench to the attachment. We want a 90-degree attachment, right? Because if we go any further this way or any further that way, that technically changes the torque value. Not so much that it really matters on AR barrel nuts, it's just good practice. So I'm going to set that there, and where's the button? All right, so now you just tighten it until you hear the click. There it is. That is 65 foot-pounds, almost at inch-pounds. And then what we'll do is, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna undo it. There we go. Okay. And then you're gonna tighten it all over again.
Okay.
So what we're doing, the reason we do that is because these two threads were obviously machined at two different times, not together, right? So we're just making sure all those threads are married up and that we're getting full contact. And that is the only purpose for that. So now, you may tighten it one more time. There you go. Okay, now the barrel is installed into the upper receiver. So we still got to put on a handguard, but before we do that, we will put on our gas block. Okay, so we have our gas tube. That's going to go like so. And then the gas block is somewhere right here. Okay. So we got a couple of screws here. And our pin. So we have two pins for our gas tube. Our gas tube came with a pin, and our gas block came with a pin. That's not uncommon. That's actually super cool, because a lot of times, especially back in the day when you were buying gun parts, neither one came with a pin, and it was super frustrating. And we'll just use this one because the other one is, just kidding, I knew where I put it, right there. Okay, so the gas tube and its whole purpose, you see there's a hole in the top of the barrel. as your bullet passes that hole, once your bullet gets in front of it, all those burning gases shooting up through into the receiver to cycle the action again. So we need to make sure we install this properly, or else our rifle will be single shot, which is extremely inconvenient for two-gun. I mean, I don't really shoot two-gun often, but I would imagine it'd be super inconvenient.
I would imagine. I'm glad you explained that, because I was going to ask you what the gas block was actually for.
Well, there you go. That's what it's for. And it's just going to go on the front. Ooh, that's a nice tight fit. Perfect. Okay. First, we're going to install the gas tube. So notice the gas tube has a big hole on the bottom. Mm-hmm. We're going to want to install that facing the bottom, because if you notice, if you look inside this hole, you will see the other hole, Inception. Yep, so that's the one that's going to be over the hole on the barrel. So if you notice, that hole is also much larger than the one that's on the barrel. So there's a little bit of room for error, but we still want to get it as close as possible. All right, and this literally just goes in, and there's a cross hole there where your roll pin goes in. And remember this thing?
Yeah.
We used that before. We're going to use it again because they actually have a spot where your gas block sits nicely so that you can actually hammer on it without trying to do it on the table, because it tends to want to roll. So again, Midwest Industries coming through with the clutch. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Coming through with
Sounds good.
Yeah. Whatever. If it's not, it is now. So we'll install this here. I'm going to get you your roll pins ready, and then you're just going to, that's the sound effect it makes with the roll pins. And so many punches. We'll use this one. That one will work fine. You know what? Changed my mind. You know what? No, I didn't. We're using that one. All right. Okay, anyway, so we have the roll pin punch. Now we're going to get a roll pin starter punch, which is really nice because they hold the roll pin while you get it started, because smaller roll pins are a pain. And there's got to be a better way, you know? I need to get more organized with these things. All right, so a starter punch and then a roll pin punch. If you notice, the starter punch just has a hole in it, so it will hold your roll pin. Not if you throw it out, though. So it will hold your roll pin, and then the roll pin punch just finishes the job. So actually, I like the black one better than the shiny one. I don't know why. I mean, this is your gun. Which one do you want to use? They're both great. They're both going to work.
Well, we're going to stick with black.
Okay. You know, that's kind of what I was thinking.
That shine a little bit might stick out on me when I'm shooting, you know, or something. And
yeah, you know,
yeah, so it won't be covered or anything.
in the jungle. Charlie's everywhere, right? And then that little shiny bit. I use that grease as adhesive again.
Okay.
Just so whenever we do like this, the pin doesn't fall out. And all you're going to do is you're going to first make sure this is aligned all the way through, like that, and then that is also probably going to be pointless because it's going to move a little as you start hammering, but it's still good practice to do it anyway. You're going to take this, put it up against the hole, and use the hammer to forcefully push it in. So I'm going to trade spots with you.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I can see what it is.
Yeah. All right, so I can hear it. I heard it going in fine, then I heard it hit the gas tube.
Okay.
So that means we need to rotate the gas tube a little bit. So if you want to pull that punch off. And then now, It's harder to turn, so I know there's friction against it, and then that is correct. So go for it once more.
With the starter one?
Yeah, you can keep using the starter one for now. Alright, now pull off the starter, switch to this one, and then drive it in until it's flush. There it is. And I'll just wipe it off here. And yeah, perfect.
All right.
Cool. All right, so now we're going to take this, we're going to slide it all the way on. And fortunately, this Sons of Liberty Gunworks barrel is also, if you notice, it is dimpled on the bottom. So there's that cut right there. And that's where our rear set screw, or front set screw, depending on which way you're looking at it, is going to dig into it. And that's also going to help align everything. And the reason for that is because when they drill this gas port hole, they actually drill it using that set screw hole. So that's how it's always in the same place, no matter what barrel you get. Which is super convenient. Cool. So we'll slide that on. Okay, and then you can take this and slide it all the way on. So the gas tube's going to go through the hole in the receiver. Yep. And then, like I said, that was a snug fit, so you're going to have to kind of wiggle it on there. Okay, perfect. So now we need to just lock it into place and just kind of check and see if it's aligned here. So what I usually do is just look down the top. And these Wilson Combat gas blocks are flat on the top, which is pretty convenient because you can just kind of line that up to the flat on the upper receiver and know that you're aligned. Also, because the screws are out, you can see on that rear hole there,
Oh yeah,
the cutout. Okay, so I'll just set it back on here. Then I'm going to flip the whole thing upside down. All right, and then let me grab some tools. And also, yeah, I'll trade spots with you. We'll use some red Loctite. Now, Loctite doesn't do a ton here, especially once you start shooting a lot, because the heat will actually break it down. But it'll keep things in place post-assembly, if that makes sense. So we'll take these two. I will find a tool that will hold them. And I'll drop it into the toolkit and lose it forever. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's your two screws there. Put the back one in first, and then the front one.
okay.
And I'll just take a little bit of this. And then you can just kind of put the screw on the screwdriver and just roll it into the thread locker and put it in place. Yep, that's plenty. A little bit of that stuff will go a long way.
A long way, yeah, I work with this stuff too.
Okay, great. Perfect.
I don't want to touch it. Back one first.
Yep, back one first.
As tight as I can get it?
Just nice and snug. Let me grab a feel for it here. Yeah, that's good.
Actually, we don't need to go in the big. That's probably good, right?
Yep, that's perfect. Great. And the bottom of these screws, they kind of have like teeth on them, so they dig in and lock into that barrel, which is exactly what you want. All right. Now for the handguard. Handguard's super easy. We'll just flip this guy back over here if you want to loosen that vise. Perfect. And then, there we go. All right, great. And the handguard, I'm going to take these screws out for you, and then I'll let you put them back in. So we will need a Torx bit, and I believe it came with one. It did. Great. There's a little lock nut that's going to come out the bottom there. And then there's washers in the top too. We're going to leave those in place. Just know that they're there so they don't fall out on you. Take your handguard, slide it all the way up to the receiver, and here, I'll hand you that. This pin here is going to go into the upper receiver. It's also going to go into that handguard and index it. Yep, keep it going. And we can, that's all right, we can give it a little tap. There. Perfect. All right, so now we're just going to drop the bolts back in there, put the nuts back on the opposite side, and as you can see, one side is perfectly flat. One side has a bevel around it. Mm-hmm. The flat side is what's going to go into the handguard. Okay. And then you're going to torque these down in a star pattern. So you'll start here, go there, then switch it up. 40 inch-pounds. Inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. I know one of y'all out there is going to destroy everything. Okay, so let's get started on that. We don't need any thread locker or anything. Just torque on these will be sufficient.
Okay.
So, get started with that. I'll change out your drivers. All right, and then just grab one of those and decide where you want to start. And we can actually, okay. Let's do this actually. There you go. Now you can see what's going on.
Go until it clicks?
Yep.
Right there.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. And like I said, torque on these is going to be just fine. You can put blue Loctite on them if you want. You can also use the anti-vibration coating on the threads. But just don't use red Loctite, and Lord forbid you end up using rock set. But yeah, so just torque on these is honestly plenty. I think actually if you were to buy one, like a factory upper, I think they do come with blue Loctite. Fun fact. And before you do that, let me take a look at something here. Yeah, that's flat. Okay. Yeah, so keep going with this one, but you're gonna have to flip this one over.
Did I get that one backwards? Okay.
Yeah. And all right, and then I'll just back it off. All right, and then throw some torque on that one. Perfect. Okay, so all that's left to do is install. There we go. Okay, the muzzle device. And then we'll move on to the optic. Then we'll be almost done. Okay, so this is a 13.7-inch barrel. We are using a Surefire muzzle brake that we are going to have to pin and weld on here. But the tricky thing is that if we tighten this all the way down, that's a little under 16 inches. So we're going to need to put a spacer in, and we have plenty of thread to do it with, so that's not an issue. But we're going to put a spacer in that sets this muzzle device further forward. And I'm going to use this spacer right here that's threaded and machined flat, so I don't have to worry about any alignment issues. So I'm just going to push that down all the way. Take the muzzle device. Now we just, obviously we want it facing the right direction. So we'll just do that, like so. And then we will back off this spacer for all intents and purposes. We're just going to back that off against the muzzle device so that it locks it in place. Now once it's locked in place, I can go ahead and pin it and weld it for you, and then we'll be good to go. So we will need that wrench again. Let me make sure this is the right size here. That's a little smaller on that one. There we go. Okay. So all we're going to do is I'm going to make sure this is staying straight.
Okay.
And I'm going to get you to back off on this. And we will use this again. You don't have to go to full torque. It's set at 60 foot-pounds right now. Just go nice and snug with it. You don't have to wait for the click. And I'm going to hold this in place. Let me get aligned here, so give me just a moment. All right, go ahead.
And I'm going up.
Correct. And right there should be good. All right, perfect. And that'll get us to 16.1 inches. Like I said, we still have plenty of thread, so we should have proper alignment on that muzzle device. And we have a Surefire muzzle alignment rod so that we can certainly check that just to be sure. All right, perfect. All right, so that's perfect. Now let me put it back in the tube, because if I don't, Steve will yell at me later. And not really, I'm kidding. He won't yell at me. He'll just say, somebody didn't put this up, knowing dang well who exactly didn't put it up, because I'm the only one that uses it. I lost the lid for it though, so no, I didn't. We're good. It's all good. Okay, perfect. Now, let's move on to the optic. So for the optic, we are using the Leupold Mark V HD 2-10. If there was anything ever to be jealous about, if you weren't jealous enough about the receiver set, then this will do it for you. Because this thing here, I know y'all aren't getting this right. Like, take it in. That new scope smell coming right out the, yeah.
Oh yeah.
There it is. All right. So we have the optic itself. We have the battery. Then we have other pieces and such. Okay, so now, tools, all that stuff here. We got lens caps, we'll put those on. And then we have a shade, which we'll leave that one off. Okay. So now let's go ahead and actually turn this into a gun. Then we'll put the entire gun into the vise. That way we can get your eye relief and stuff.
Okay.
All right, and then that's, okay. So how familiar are you with putting a bolt carrier group and charging handle in?
I am not.
Okay, so this is like...
You get me from like
okay.
nothing.
Noted. All right, you're gonna be, I mean, you probably already are out shooting me anyway, so that doesn't matter.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know.
I'll look good when I'm done.
I've seen you shooting. All right, so we got this here, charging handle, bolt carrier group, Sons of Liberty bolt carrier group here. Probably the best one you can get for the money, in my opinion. All right, so now we are gonna assemble everything, but we're just gonna put a little bit of lube on it. I'm gonna do it once, and then I'm gonna take it apart and then make you put it back in.
Okay.
All right. So, charging handle, I like to lube it right there on these little wings here, because that's where they lock into the receiver. The top here, because that runs against that groove in the receiver. And then just a little bit on the sides. So this, you have to lay it in there, and while pushing down, push forward, and it locks into place. And then once you push it forward, it rides in a groove that's in there. And
okay.
You can look in there and see the cuts where they locked in. They kind of dropped, pushed down.
Okay.
Yep, so that's what we're working with there. Then I'm just gonna push it forward just a little bit, so that's still sticking out a bit. I'm gonna lubricate the rails and the sides of the gas key right there. The bottom rails. And one swipe right across the bottom. Okay, now with the bolt pulled forward, because you can't put it in that position. It's gotta be forward. You're gonna lay it in there. And then it all goes in together, just like that. I'm gonna take that out. You're up.
I don't need to lube it though, right?
Nope.
Okay. Down on top first?
Yep, you gotta start on top.
Ah, there we go.
Perfect.
It's supposed to go forward?
Yeah, it'll go forward a little bit. You just gotta make sure it's laying flat. There you go.
There we go. That's forward.
Yep. Flip it over.
Oh, yep.
Gas key goes in the charging handle. And jam it all in together. Perfect. Okay.
Nice.
Now the upper goes onto the lower. Just gotta open your pins here. And actually what I like to do, I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on the pin grooves themselves where the detent rides, just to make them smoother. And I done got oil all over the place. Again, this is not in my hair. It's not the same stuff. Okay. To put the upper on the lower, you just put the upper on the lower. and then push the pins in. Most people do the front pin first because that's actually easier. I did it the opposite way because I'm wild. And this is, again, these Radian receivers are a nice tight fit. I'm just gonna give it a tap here. You shouldn't ever have to do that, but these pins are nice and snug, so you'll probably, the first few times you take this apart, you'll probably need a tool to help you kind of push these pins out. Once it gets broken in, they'll come in and out freely. So that's kind of part of having a gun that has really tight tolerances like this. But once they break in, you won't have to use anything with them. And this feels good. You got a nice gun here.
Thank you.
All right, I think I'm gonna hang on to this one. No, I'm kidding. It's even lighter than it looks, so that's good. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to what we were doing. I'll play with it when we're done. We will just grab that again. And now instead of holding a lower receiver, we're holding the entire firearm. Okay, so what we're gonna do is determine where we want to put this optic. So typically on most ARs, and actually what we'll have you do, set up the stock where it's a comfortable length for you to hold the firearm, and we're gonna put a Tiger Claw from Die Free Company on there as well. So once we determine where your hand naturally falls and how long you need that stock to be, we'll set the rest of that up. So I'm gonna hand it to you, and I'm gonna take a step back so you free with that muzzle there.
I believe I'm shooting other ones. I gotta go a little shorter.
Yep.
I don't know. It's hard for me to tell until I actually shoot it. But
yeah, and not only that, if you're going to be shooting any in a plate carrier, you'll want it short as well, because that's going to add a little bit of length.
Does it go?
Yeah, that's as short as you get right there.
Probably there, because I'll have a plate carrier on too.
Yeah, no, that looks right. Looks good. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and shoulder it one more time. I'm just going to kind of look to see. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. You can go ahead and stick it back in the vise. So probably the best place for this optic here is going to be almost right even with that charging handle. So let's go ahead and get it set up, and then we'll check it again. So we're going to want these rings to kind of fall right there would be good. So just trying to make a visual indicator of what slot we're going to use. So 1, 2, third one back. Okay. I'm just going to loosen these by hand. 1, 2, third one back. Put them on. Tighten them. And then that'll probably be pretty darn good for eye relief. If we need to come forward a little more, we can. Okay. Now, let me just grab a driver here. It should be T15. Yes, okay. So I'm gonna hand you a torque wrench, and then we're gonna torque this down. So 28 inch-pounds. The alignment on there. Okay, perfect. Okay, now we are going to I'm gonna give you that driver there. I'm gonna hand that to you. Just hold on to that for now. And I am also gonna grab one just to get all these screws out of here. I'm gonna leave them in the ring tops. Then I'm gonna pull them off. And we're gonna take the optic, lay it in. All right, now I'm going to use this handy dandy tool here. Hopefully it'll fit. Yeah, it'll fit just fine. So this is a Arasaka scope leveling tool, and it just levels the optic going off of the optic, off the bottom of the optic. And I'll actually, because we want to be about right, for you about right there would be good. Let me see if I can do it from this side. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be perfect. So what I'm gonna do, put on my front ring, put on my rear ring with the logo facing the right direction, because if the L's facing forward, then it won't shoot straight.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding, it'll be just fine. It's just one thing makes it look professional and the other makes it look not professional. And what I'm doing now, I'm getting these scope caps, or these ring tops on with equal gaps on both sides, again, just so that it looks like maybe I knew what I was doing. All right. And nothing too crazy here. Just turning screws, watching alignment. And once everything's aligned, you'll be torquing them down. Great. And great, okay. So now I'm just gonna loosen one side of each of these. Make sure my scope is able to turn freely. Okay, now I'm going to level it. And that right there is level. So the bottom of that scope is perfectly level to the top of these rings, which in theory should be level to the rail, which in theory should be level to, you know, you get it. All right. So I'm gonna snug this up just kind of so it can't really move. I'm gonna check that gap on the scope alignment tool again. I'm just going to kind of do a quick visual here. It's looking pretty good. Okay, so now, starting with the front ring, go ahead and torque it down. Again, just do the star pattern, okay. So the crisscross applesauce.
Are you tightening these back up here first too before you go into it?
Nope, you can jump right into the front. right, now you can come to the rear, and I'm just gonna be triple checking things as you go.
Same thing?
Yep. Great. Let me just kind of get over here. It's really close. I think it may be off just a hair. Right, so front left. Mounting scopes can always be tricky. And rear right. Then I'm just being OCD about it now. Okay. Yeah, this gap is bigger than the other gap. Okay. All right, hold that. All right, now it's level. Okay. Perfect. So now the optic is nice and level and everything's torqued down. Go ahead, or actually we still need to torque down these bases. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the optic, see how there's a little bit of play in the rails back and forth?
Yep.
We're gonna push it as far forward as it'll go. And snug these up, and we'll go ahead and torque those down. All right, so we do have a few accessories as well. You have the dye-free Co. Tiger Claw, because these are awesome. I have it on my gun as well, as you may have noticed. I'm sure you noticed. We won't even get into it. All right, so go ahead and just pick up the gun and hold it how you would normally hold it, and we'll determine where that needs to go. You got to push the mag release. It's locked into the block.
Which is this one?
Yep. All right. All right, I think I know where we need to be. So we're going to go like right, pretty much all the way back, or right in front of it there. Yeah, we'll do that. Let me grab the appropriate driver. which is not this one. All right, so this just goes in there via M-lock. And to install M-lock accessories, you're just gonna set them in place with them tightened all the way down and then loosen them. And if you look in right there, you can see when I turn it to tighten it, they rotate 90 degrees and lock into place. And they're just that easy to install. There you go. Now shoulder it and see how it feels.
And holding onto that.
Still holding the handguard.
Oh, so it's like...
Yeah, so you can just kind of pull into it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, great. And then we also have a bunch of Magpul rail panels. So these will give texture to your handguard if you want them. I'll let you just kind of feel them and see if that's kind of what you want to go with. They're great for when if your hands are sweaty or your mud, rain, whatever.
Yeah.
They provide more texture.
That's nice.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll just put 4 of them on. And the way these install are super easy. I'll just let you throw them on there. So you're just gonna stick them in the slot like that. So you can just stick that one in there. And then you take that insert and push it all the way in and it locks it in place. Yep. And then there's another one. There you go. Okay.
Goodness gracious. Start lifting weights with my thumbs, huh?
Yeah, or just put these in all day, every day.
That one's not in all the
Yeah,
way.
that's fine. I'll finish it off. That one is really tight. That whole panel seems a little... The whole panel is off the rail just a little bit. That's why it's like that. And that did absolutely nothing. So I'm just going to take it back off. Let you just pop those out. Reposition it. And just try again. Because that does happen sometimes. If they're not on there perfectly, there it goes, then they'll tend to be up. So go ahead, shoulder it and see how it feels now.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, cool.
Right there on my palm.
We'll roll with that then. So that is all there is to it. And the only thing we didn't do was check the headspace and everything, but that bolt was already headspace to the barrel before you got here, so we're not going to worry about that. If you want to know about checking headspace or if you need to know how to do it, we have other content on that, so go ahead and check that out. So that is your AR build. So your new competition gun.
Man, I hate to get it dirty now, but...
I expect to see it absolutely filthy.
Right?
So yeah, all we got to do is we'll throw on some scope caps, we'll throw the battery in, and that'll be it. It'll be time to hit the range. All right, so Jen, thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me. This has been amazing.
Awesome. Well,
Great.
Congratulations on your new gun.
Nice.
All right. So if
Guess
you have
what
any...
I'm going to be doing over the weekends.
Yeah, no kidding. So I'll definitely see you at the range, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
All right, great. So I expect to see y'all out at the range too, if you live nearby. If not, then I don't expect you to drive however far it is. Anywho, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them down below. And as always, if you need help with anything for any reason ever, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.